Good afternoon. Welcome to AJ's webinar, Redefining Food Security in the Asia Pacific, Integrating Food Security with Climate Change and Development. My name is Akane Matsuo. I'm a policy researcher of the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. I'm going to be your moderator for this one-hour session today. So this webinar is co-hosted by IJS and the SDGs Collaboration Research Unit, Institute for Future Initiatives, the University of Tokyo. And the webinar is organized as part of the Asia Pacific Climate Security Project, which commenced in 2023 with support from the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are here today to discuss a crucial challenge, ensuring food security under the changing climate. Traditional definitions of food security centered on availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability may not fully capture the complexities we face. This webinar will dig into redefining food security in the Asia-Pacific region. We'll explore how integrating climate change, development, human security, and climate security, along with sustainability, farmer agency, and resilience, can provide a more comprehensive framework of food security. Our experts will analyze these new dimensions and discuss the future of food security in the region. This webinar features the presentation of a forthcoming discussion paper on this very topic. Following the presentation, we will have a panel of experts offer their valuable feedback and insights on the paper's findings and recommendations. Finally, we would like to hear from you. We will be holding a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So we encourage you to submit your questions at any time throughout the webinar by using the Zoom Q&A chat box. We will do our best to address as many questions as possible. For those needing language interpretation, please select your preferred language, English or Japanese, via the interpretation icon at the bottom of your Zoom window. So without further ado, let's move to a presentation of a forthcoming discussion paper. May I, San, over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, and let me share my screen. Okay. Sure. Yeah, please. Okay, good afternoon once again. I am Kei Kurushima, a policy researcher from Institute for Global Environment Strategy, IGES, and I would like to present on behalf of our team on the forthcoming working paper titled Redefining Food Security in the Asia Pacific. Okay. So before I move on to introducing about the contents of the working paper, I would like to introduce two key messages that I would like to deliver through my today's presentation. First, we try to redefine food security, the traditional definition of food security, by connecting it to the climate security discussions. As explained by Matsuo-san, this project is under the Climate Security Project funded by Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. And in this research project, we have 5 different kinds of sub-themes, and this food security sub-theme is one of them. So our main goal was to connect this food security topic with the climate security discussions. And we understand the linkages between climate security and food security as the impact of climate change on food production and the conflicts that arise from it. So in this aspect, the interconnectedness of food security and climate security is obvious. And we argued that the food security definition should integrate and emphasize three additional concepts along with the traditional definition. And the 3 additional concepts are sustainability, agency of farmers and fishers, and resilience in food systems. And secondly, although the definition that we argue here should be integrated and understood more in global and regional level, we also want to emphasize the importance of considering this definition and as long as food security at subnational and national levels. So in our research, our focus is especially on small-scale producers who supply the majority of food in the Asia Pacific. And these people are especially vulnerable to climate change and also land insecurity, resource imbalances, and other aspects. So national and subnational policies should prioritize ensuring equitable access to land, water, financial resources, and technology, which will enhance sustainability and climate resilience as well. So these two key messages are the messages that I would like to deliver in my presentation, and I will explain about the content of the working paper from now on. So I have been using this word food security. But firstly, I want to explain the broad definition of what food security is and also the traditional definition that I've been discussing now. So in the 1996 World Food Summit, which this definition is often referred to when we discuss about food security, it is indicated that food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. And also, WFP also defined food security as people are food secure when they have food access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs for an active and healthy life. So in this food security, in the global discussions, traditionally they have four definitions to food security, four pillars to food security, which are food availability, food access, food utilization, and food stability. So I would come back to this the traditional four pillars of food security again, but in traditional context of food security, these the definition I just explained are often referred to in the global definitions. And so here are some facts on food security and why we are focusing on Asia Pacific. So Asia Pacific region represents half of the world's undernourished people. So although the population, of course, the Asia Pacific has a lot of, so 60% of the global populations. So the percentage of undernourishment is also high in this region. And especially in South Asia, it accounts for almost 85% in the region, which is 340 million of the region's undernourished people. And so in 2021, there were 1.9 billion people who could not afford a healthy diet. And so this number, of course, with the efforts for sustainable development goals and other efforts made by regional, global, and national, this number is decreasing. After COVID, the number has increased, but now it's starting to decrease. So compared to 2020, this number has improved by 80.4 million people. But the number is still very high, and the problem of food insecurity is very serious in Asia and Pacific region. And also, the Asia Pacific region, we relies heavily on small-scale producers, and this make up 70% of food producers and supply 80% of the region's food supply. So I will explain more on this small-scale producers, but in the discussion of the Asia-Pacific food security, these small-scale producers are very important actors. And also, the Asia Pacific region is the largest producer of agriculture and fish products. And this is the estimated number in 2030, but it is expected to make up 53% of global production by 2030. So the Asia Pacific region is important in terms of improving the undernourished issues in the world, and also it is also important in terms of food producing. So in terms of food security issues, the Asia Pacific region is very the region that we need to focus on. And so as I also pointed out in the beginning, climate change is very important to address the food security issues. As I read it here, climate change is already affecting food security through increasing temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and greater frequency of extreme events. And these changing climate influence largely on agricultural production. And for instance, in Japan, the increase of temperature have impacted the cultivation of rice paddies and fruit trees. So in the past, rice paddies were popular in the south, like in like Niigata or Tohoku region, but now since the temperature increased, there are more rice production in Hokkaido or in the northern areas of Japan. So the temperatures increase the cultivation habit of the farmers, and this becomes an issue that the farmers have to adapt to. And also, as I also pointed out, small-scale farmers who consist the majority in the Asia Pacific region are especially vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And so these people have more impact from the climate change, and then their production of agricultural products will decrease, and then they become poverty. So this is what I indicated here as negative cycle of poverty. So these are like the background of why food security is important and why it is important to address in the Asia Pacific content, and why also addressing climate change in the food security discussion is important. So in our research, redefining food security in the Asia Pacific, integrating sustainability, agency, and resilience in the context of climate change and development, we argued to broaden the traditional definition of food security to include sustainability, agency of farmers, and resilience to ensure the integration of climate security and issues at the nexus of conflict and development. So our approach, so in food securities, since this food security is a very broad and big concept, there are many approaches to take, but in our research, we adopted a human security approach, and we prioritize people-centered solutions with a focus on regional, national, and subnational food security. So in terms of human security approach or people-centered solutions, our focus is on structural inequalities and power imbalance regarding access to land and water, resulting in grievances, inequalities, and potential conflict at subnational and national levels. So this approach will also contribute to food security discussions and also climate security discussions. And we, since IGES is a policy research-oriented institutions, our research also aim to make policy recommendations to both regionally and also to Japan. And in this research, the policy relevance relies on considering Japan's role as a development actor in enhancing food security in the Asia Pacific, and also to examine strategies to strengthen regional cooperation for sustainable and resilient food systems. So I would like to explain more on our argument on integrating the three three concepts to food security traditional definitions. And so as I explained, there are four traditional definitions of food security: food availability, food access, food utilization, and food stability. And so in our argument, we would like to add the three additional concepts, which is sustainability, the ability of food systems to meet present needs without compromising the capacity of future generations to produce and access food, ensuring environmental, social, and economic balance. So in this sustainability, instead of short-term goals, this sustainability has more long-term planning and long-term goals on food security. And secondly, the agency. This refers to the capacity of food producers, the farmers and the fishers, to make informed decisions that affect their well-being and that of their communities, shaping food system through choices and actions. In particular, this agency, we refer to the small-scale farmers and small-scale fishers, which is a very important actors, food producers in the Asia Pacific. And thirdly, the resilience is the ability of food systems to anticipate, adapt to, and recover from shocks such as climate change, conflict, and economic disruptions, ensuring long-term stability. So sustainability and resilience, they both have the aim of long-term stability, and also in the climate change aspect, they both the resilience is also have the concept of climate change in it. So the characteristics of our argument is that firstly, we integrate the concept of food sovereignty. So this food sovereignty is an approach to solve structural inequalities and vulnerabilities with people-centered approach. So food security, they also focus more on food production and food supply, like in terms of economic. But in food sovereignty, this will more focus on the human security aspect, like the people-centered approach. And so the food sovereignty is the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their rights to define their own food and agricultural systems. So this food sovereignty is more taking account of the agency that I just explained. And it also understands food security as an outcome of food system. And it also addresses mechanisms shaped by climate risk and the complexity of dynamic socio-ecological processes. So not only the effect from climate change and its vulnerabilities to the food producers, we also would like to address the socio-ecological and also like economic factors that creates those inequalities and vulnerabilities of the food producers. So here I wrote food systems are defined as a coming together of all the elements, so environment, people, inputs, processes, infrastructures, institutions, and activities that relate to production, processing, distribution, preparation, and consumption of food, and the output of these activities, including socioeconomic and environment outcomes. So in our concept, we would like to not just refer to food and its also effect from climate change and the supply of food, but we also would like to address the socio-economic factors that surround the food producers. And so, okay, to repeat again, the aim of this research is also to contribute to climate security conversations and So the link between climate security and food security can be understood through the impact of climate change on food productions and the conflict that arise as a result. So sustainability refer to how it will contribute to developing a long-term sustainable food system, and adding agency will reduce conflict at subnational level by addressing power imbalances of smallholders, and adding the concept of resilience will strengthen the ability to adapt to risks, including climate change. So here, we redefine food security to include addressing the impacts of climate change and other environmental factors on food systems, and redressing the power imbalances faced by smallholders. So, in our working paper, in order to argue the relevance of the three concepts of food security, it is important to understand the current efforts made by regional initiatives. And so we examine existing regional policy and frameworks on food security in Southeast Asia, ASEAN, South Asia, SARC, Pacific, the PIF, to evaluate whether food security is being addressed in the context of the three concepts that I have just explained. So also, since this study aims to provide policy recommendations to Japan on food security, in our analysis, we also included the policy of Japan as well. So we try to analyze the existing documents and frameworks of these four region and Japan, three region and Japan, considering the traditional four pillars, sustainability and agency and resilience. And we identified yes, partially yes or no, seeing whether these definitions are identified in each of the policies. And so when we see the result in all region and Japan, these four traditional four pillars and the three concepts were identified, except, so we didn't have no to this analysis, but except for, but for SARC, we had partially yes. So for partially yes for agency and resilience, and we use this partially, the category partially yes, when the document included concept partially. So for example, in terms of agency, we identified yes when it referred to like the empowerment or the rights of food producers. But in partially yes, it only mentioned the importance of involving farmers. So this is like a slight difference. If yes, it will have more rights and more human-centered approach, but just mentioning about the importance of involving farmers would be partially yes. So, but we can see that mostly the three concepts we are proposing are addressed in this South Asia Pacific region, and we can say that our concepts are relevant to the food security of this region. So I would like to see how these concepts were addressed in each of the documents. Like in ASEAN, it integrated food security and climate change into its policies, recognizing their impact on regional stability and agricultural productions. And these efforts emphasize stability, resilience, and inclusion, particularly highlighting the role of small-scale farmers and indigenous communities in ensuring long-term food security and stability in the region. So instead of saying agency, these document highlighted like the role of small-scale farmers or like indigenous communities. So they they use a different word, but they refer to this inclusion and the rights of small-scale farmers. And in SARC, it recognized food insecurity and undernutrition as key regional challenges to ensure food availability, access, stability, and utilization. And sorry. While its agriculture vision emphasized sustainability and aspects of agency and resilience, the lack of recent regionally agreed frameworks limits comprehensive policy development, highlighting the need for renewed focus on food security amid climate challenges. And in PIF, Pacific countries recognize food security as a critical regional security issue with key frameworks like the BOEC declarations linking food insecurity to climate change. And the recent policies emphasize sustainability, resilience, and agency by integrating food security within climate disaster and ocean management strategies while promoting inclusive participations. And in Japan, food security policies, including Basic Plan for Food, Agriculture, and Rural Areas and the Middle East strategies, emphasize sustainability, resilience, and agency alongside the traditional four pillars, extending these priorities to international cooperation efforts in the Asia Pacific. And through these initiatives, Japan focused on technology dissemination, capacity building, and inclusive food value chains, aiming to empower small-scale farmers and enhance long-term food securities. So, as I have explained, this working paper is under development, and in terms of policy relevance, we recognize the importance of referring to more national policies other than Japan. So before we publish our paper, we would like to strengthen our regional and policy analysis so that we can indicate that our three concepts are relevant to this region. So I want to also explain the significance of broadening the definition of food security by adding the three concepts. These three concepts address the interconnectedness of climate security and food security. As I have explained, climate security and food security are closely linked as climate change disrupts agriculture and food supply chains, causing scarcity, power imbalances, rising prices, displacement, and conflict. And we believe this approach can solve structural inequalities and vulnerabilities of food producers. To examine structural inequalities and entitlement systems in food productions reveals social, political, and economic vulnerabilities that shape agency, governance responses to climate stress, and power dynamics. So it also has impact on sustainability and resilience as well. And also this approach has the people-centered approach for food security. So incorporating the three aspects allow for a focus on individual and group behaviors within climate society interactions, helping identify decision-making mechanisms shaped by climate risks and the complexity of dynamic socio-ecological processes. So finally, I would like to explain our next steps for this research. So I think this definition I have explained in the global and regional food security discussions, and now we feel it is important to put this concept into national and subnational context. And so specifically, we would like to identify the climate change related challenges faced by small-scale farmers and fishers in a particular country, as well as their socioeconomic difficulties and the policy responses. So For this, we have selected Philippines for our case studies, which Philippines is vulnerable to climate change, and both agriculture and fishery are important industry of the country, and also their products are imported across the region. So I just came back from the field survey in the Iloilo and Palawan Island last week. So I would like to briefly explain the findings that I have from this fieldwork. So we visited several community agriculture and fishery communities in Iloilo and Palawan, and we found out that climate change is severely impacting agriculture and fisheries in the community, and it is exacerbating disparities between those who can access government support and those who cannot. So the vulnerability of who cannot access the government support is becoming larger. And so the impact of climate change is severely impacting those people. And additionally, socioeconomic challenges such as unequal land ownership, limited irrigation infrastructure, and restricted access to fishing grounds further disadvantage small-scale producers and increasing their vulnerability to climate change. And these policies and these challenges, the government policies often fail to resolve. And so we have identified that there are many challenges from both climate change and socioeconomic challenges as well. So our analysis, so the field findings from the field work will be analyzed and published in a different format. But the takeaway from the field work is that national policies to empower small-scale holders toward climate-resilient agriculture, fishery practices are essential, and these policies should include addressing structural inequalities and imbalances in the distribution of resources. So for the next step, we will try to translate the three concepts of food security that I have discussed in this presentation in the national and subnational context so that it can become more relevant and important in national and both national and subnational level as well. So, sorry. So this is my end of my presentation, but I would like to conclude my presentation by showing this picture. This picture I took during my PhD research in Thailand. So in my PhD research, I was concerned with disparities in land ownership among farmers. And so while I was doing my fieldwork, I realized that in a monetized economy, the important thing is not just owning or not owning land, but it is also so not owning or not owning land, it affects not only the agricultural production, but it also affects all aspects of life, such as like children's education opportunities, or where you can get medical treatment, or whether you have to go to abroad for migrant laborers. So this land ownership is like the most important part of the farmers in this region. And in the recent fieldwork that I did in the Philippines, I heard from the farmers that food security for them is not only stabilized agriculture production or having efficient and nutritious food every day, but that they said that it is also important for them to have access to education and also stability of their life in general. So I thought like these two farmers share the same value that I learned that the importance of taking a broad view of the issue. So for food security, not just looking at nutrition or like one single point of that, the issue, but more broader picture of the issues are importance. So I hope that through this research, I can help to clarify the unequal dynamics in food security through referring to these three additional concepts. Okay, so this is end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Back to Matsuo-san.
Thank you very much, Kurushima-san, for sharing this ambitious endeavor to redefine food security in the context of Asia-Pacific region. And thank you very much for sharing your fresh and rich field survey experience. So now I would like to invite Professor Mikio Ishiwatari for the reflections on this discussion paper. He's a visiting professor, Division of Environmental Studies, Department of International Studies, Disaster Management and Recovery, the University of Tokyo. Professor Ishiwatari, please take the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this interesting event. Okay, I will share my. Oh. Yes, so I would like to provide some comments from a development perspective. I believe the concept now proposed by Kurushima-san is very useful to consider food and climate security and to address such food and climate securities. Yeah, I will skip this one. So first, a key comments from me. Yeah, this proposed concept is aligned with development approach, important approach, quality growth, 質の高い成長. It covers sustainability, resilience, and inclusive. Okay, so first, I would explain some case in Japan. This is a Toyoka. This is a good case for considering sustainability, resilience, community development, and food production. Toyoka is an important city because of reviving stock konotori. So in Japan, stock konotori was extincted in 1971 completely. So our country tried to revive and brought some stock from Russia. And nowadays in Toyoka, over 200 birds were flying over in Toyoka City because citizens, governments, academia, researchers, they provided some living place and restoring ecosystem. Yeah, actually, paddy field, rice field, an important area to feed such as stocks. So farmers are cooperated not to use pesticides or to try to reduce the amount of pesticides. And the area was expanded so that the stock can survive. And the second issue is resilience. In Toyoka, Maruyamagawa River is flowing, and this is a first-class river in Japan, and repeatedly Toyoka City suffered from flooding, and one big flood happened in 2004. Ministry of Infrastructure conducted river works, but they use green infrastructure, like reservoirs, and not covered by concrete. Instead, they use such a green infrastructure and created wetland. And this area was registered as a Ramsar wetland in 2012. And they try to restore ecosystem. Of course, the top of this pyramid stock is here, but to revive such a pyramid must be recreated. So such a paddy field could become a home for such a rich ecosystem. So finally, Konotori stock could have been revived, and not only such ecosystem issues, farmers, they started selling Konotori Hagukumu Okome. This is a brand, and stock natural rice, and they can export this brand to other countries like Hong Kong and Singapore. So as I said, food production, in this case rice production, deeply related to resilience, sustainability, and local community. This is a case. And secondly, I would like to discuss some linkage or matching with the Development Cooperation Charter. This charter is the most important policy of the Japanese government and adopted in 2023. And one important component is quality growth, 質の高い成長. And this is very aligned with the concept proposed just now, Kurushima-san, Sustainability, Resilience, of Farmers Agency. In ODA charter, in the charter, three components is sustainability, resilience, and inclusive, very aligned. So first, sustainability. So this is some image, such a food production is related to climate change or biodiversity and water. Of course, food production causes issued greenhouse gases, and food production use pesticide and fertilizer, damaging biodiversity, and use much of water. So one by one, I will see. First, climate change. So agriculture, forestry, and related land use. CO2 emission is almost 23 or around 1/4 of a total CO2 emission. So it's a major sector of climate change, causing climate change. Secondly, biodiversity. So food production is a threat to biodiversity because they use pesticide and fertilizers. In addition, if they can conserve or manage well such as lands or ecosystem, it contributes to biodiversity. And next is water security. As everyone discussed, climate change causing flooding and droughts and damaging water management, and meaning food production decrease. But not only such a damage, food production, irrigation use some 80 or 70% of water in the world. So it's a major water users. So if they use more, definitely they use more water as the population increase. It's damaging water management, damaging urban energy, ecosystem, environment, other sectors. Resilience. In Japan, Japan's government adopted new approach of flood protection or climate change adaptation. They say Ryuikichi, river-based disaster resilience and sustainability by all. And one major solution is Tambo Dam. A paddy field is used as a reservoir. If a paddy field can be used for flood reservoir, it would be leading to mitigating flood damage. And next one is Farmers Agency, or I may say inclusive. So the Japanese chapter says inclusive growth. Such a fruits of growth are shared within society as a whole and leaving no one behind. So this is very matching with Farmers Agency concept. So summary. So as I discussed, threat and contribution, sustainability, climate change, biodiversity, water. Yeah, so food production may affect such a climate change, biodiversity, water, but can contribute to address such issues by decreasing food losses or preserving lands or using water more efficiently. And resilience, of course, paddy fields can be used as a reservoir. And inclusiveness, yes, food shortage may affect vulnerable group, But as I show in Toyoka City, it can be contribute to local economy. Okay, so some suggestion. Yeah, strengthen policy recommendation. I expect. And what kind of approach should be included? My suggestion is how this such a new concept can be promoted. Maybe investment is needed, and science and technology. These are quite crucial for addressing sustainability and resilience and governance. Farmers agency or inclusiveness. Yeah, of course, it's an important issue, but how to secure governance must be arranged. Okay, so this is key comments again. So new concept proposed just now is a very good aligned with development approach, important approach of quality growth. It's about sustainability, resilience, and inclusive society. Okay, thank you very much. This is my email address. If you have comments or questions, please send. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ishibatari, for your valuable comments and suggestions to our paper, highlighting the case study from Japan, the concept of quality growth. Sorry, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but today's webinar, the recording will be published on the website after the seminar. In addition, the presentation materials will be also uploaded on the website, so you can follow our website later. Okay, so now may I invite Professor Nathaniel Agnieszko for another comments on the discussion paper. He is the professor of Graduate School Secretary, Institute of Marine Fisheries and Oceanology, College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences, University of the Philippines, Visayas. Professor Agnieszko, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will share my presentation. Okay, can you see now my slide? And can you hear me?
Yes, we can see and hear very well. Thank you.
Okay, again, good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, I will talk about food security in the context of Philippine fisheries. So in the Philippines, the main law that governs our fisheries is the Fisheries Code of the Philippines. So in this code, I'd like to increase the size first. Okay. So in this code, it mentions food security as one of the important policies. So for example, to achieve food security as the overriding consideration in the utilization, management, development, conservation, and protection of the fishery resources. In the same law, we define food security as any plan, policy, or strategy aimed at ensuring adequate supplies of appropriate food at affordable prices. So before I go on discussing about the Philippine fisheries, I will talk about the aquatic resources first. So just like Japan, the Philippines is an archipelagic country. So we are mainly made up of marine waters. So as you can see here, our waters are mainly oceanic with a little coastal area and some coral reefs also. We have some freshwater or resources also. And in these internal waters of the Philippines, we divide them according to two categories. So we have the municipal waters, which is basically up to 15 waters up to 15 kilometers from the shoreline to offshore waters. And so this is shown here as a blue shaded color. And the white is basically the commercial waters, and the blue are the municipal waters. Okay, and persons who do their fishing in the municipal waters are considered municipal fishers. So in the Philippines, we have about 2.2 million municipal fishers, and 50% of them are capture fishers. So meaning they go out and capture wild resources. And this include also gleaning and aquaculture, which are about 11% each, contribute 11% each. Fish processing, vending, and other fishes-related activities also provide jobs to about 200,000 municipal fishers. For the commercial fishers, so these are big boats. For example, about 1,000 only commercial fishing vessel operators are registered in the country. This is for the 2021 record, which is the most updated record right now. So based on comparing municipal and commercial fishers, we can see here that 99% of Filipino fishers are local or municipal fishers. So only 1% are commercial fishers. And they land about 49% of the total catch from the wild. In the Philippines, the fisheries is divided into 3 subsectors. So we have the aquaculture subsector, the municipal capture fisheries, and the commercial capture fisheries. So the aquaculture contributes about 53% of the total fisheries production, while the municipal capture fisheries contributes about 27%, and the commercial capture fisheries contribute about 21% or 20%. These figures show the fisheries production in the Philippines. So this figure shows the volume of fisheries production over the years from 2012 to 2021. So we can see here that it's slightly declining. The trend is slightly declining. And for the volume of catch, as shown here, the capture or the municipal and the commercial capture production are it's showing leveling off. Okay, it's not increasing, or it's slightly declining also. But for the value of the catch, they are increasing for the aquaculture and the municipal, but for the commercial, it's just a leveling off. So on food consumption, so next to rice and rice products, Filipinos consume fish and fishery products the most. So for fish and fishery products, it constitutes about 12% of the person's total food intake, which is about 94 grams per day. So as shown in this figure, about 63% higher than the meat and the poultry. Okay, and then about 30 Filipinos consume about 34 kilograms per year of fish and fishery products, and 23.36 kilograms of that is consumed as fresh, then about 3 kilograms as dried, and then about 5 as processed, and then about 3 kilograms either crustaceans and mollusks. So this figure shows that the food fish per capita is declining. It's slowly declining. Okay, so that is one of the issue that we are considering here, that about food security or the self-sufficiency, sufficiency of the Philippines is slightly declining. So that is why we are currently importing some fishery products also from other countries. So in the Philippines, we also do fish monitoring. in the different fishing grounds, as shown in this blue shaded color. So these are the areas where we monitor our fish landing, and these figures and the following figures will show the exploitation rates, or how, or as we can say, how is the status of the fishery in the different areas, fishing grounds of the Philippines. If it is red, as shown as red, so it's about 0.6 or and above. So this is what we call as overfished areas. The yellow one is about the average from 0.4 to 0.6, 0.59, and then lower it's green. But as shown for small pelagics, for example, most of the fishing grounds are already in the red. So meaning they are already overfished. This one for demersal fishes, also red. And then for neretic tuna, mostly red also, but some parts here are in yellow. And then the same for oceanic tuna, mostly in the southern part of the Philippines, are already in the red. So we can say that the main, or one of the main issues in the Philippines in relation to fisheries is overfishing, actually. But these overfished fishing grounds are actually exposed to hazards, climate hazards. And this paper by David in 2000 et al. 2016 presents the different clusters of possible climate-induced effects to our fishing grounds. So these are about 10, and it discusses about extreme heating events, extreme rainfall events, disturbed water budget, sea level rise, and many other things. For example, ocean temperature increase also. So our fishing grounds are divided into different clusters according to the effects of climate change. So from here, I will be presenting the different initiatives by the Philippine government or in the Philippines in relation to the three new concepts or dimensions that Professor Kay want to include in the discussion about food security. So I will try to um, or I tried to check how the Philippines contributes to these three new concepts or dimensions in integrating climate change to food security discussions. So for the first one, which is on sustainability, and this is about, as mentioned by Professor Key, the assurance of food production and distribution that does not compromise environmental and social stability in the long term. So one initiative or a strategy of the Philippines is to do closed fishing seasons. We have what we call spatio-temporal closures of fishing grounds to allow our fishery resources to recover, for example, from overfishing or recover from climate-induced disturbances. So, for example, um, reproduction might be affected by some disturbances. The closed fishing season will allow our fish populations to grow and reproduce again. So we have different areas being identified. And for example, this one is closed from November up to January. Okay, so for different times of the year, we identified the closure. This is mostly according to the spawning periods of the targeted fishery resource. And then another approach is what we call the protection, environmental protection. So in the Philippines, we have the National Integrated Protected Area System or NIPAS. And this was revised and became the Expanded National Integrated Protected Area System of 2018. So in this law, we allow establishment of marine protected areas. We hope that through the marine protected areas, we are able to allow recovery of fishery resources, since fishing will be regulated or not allowed totally. Okay, and we also allow rehabilitation of marine habitats like coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangrove forests. Another approach the government did was to establish the fisheries management areas in the Philippines. So this is an ecosystem based approach to fisheries management, where we divide our fishing grounds into, like, depending on the ecosystem functions of our fishing grounds. So for example, we have one, for example, the Visayan Sea area. We consider this as one ecosystem where all fish populations stay here. And so management is practically easier if they are managed according to this area only. So we identified 12 actually fisheries management areas. So for the agency, or the role of food producers in the Philippines under the Fisheries Code of 1998, it includes provisions on the participation of municipal fishers and even other fisheries stakeholders in the Fisheries and Aquatic Resource Management Council. So we have different levels. We have the national, the municipal or city pharmacies, and then we have barangay pharmacy or the community pharmacy, and then we have the integrated pharmacy if municipalities want to combine and for example a B-wide pharmacy. So that is called integrated pharmacy. But in this case, we have the national pharmacy and we have representations from the municipal fishers. 5 of them coming from different, they are elected by their fellow municipal fishers. So 2 coming from Luzon in the northern part of the Philippines, 1 from the Visayas, the central part of the Philippines, and 2 from Mindanao, the southern part of the Philippines. I was a member of this council and representing the academe in the previous term. But my term ended this year. Okay? So the municipal fishers also actively participate. This one is the national pharmacy, but most of the municipal fishers actually participate in the municipal or city fisheries and aquatic resources management councils. So 11 fisher folk representatives are members of this council. So 7 from municipal fishers, 1 from the fisher, and 3 from commercial fishers of each municipality. And they are actually part in the discussions in the, for example, if they want to formulate fishery laws, ordinances, then they actually participate. Okay, so that's why we call them, they are part of the law-making process also. And then another one is what we call the community fish landing sites. We identified areas around the country where we have our community-based fish landing sites. They are managed by the locality, by the pharmacy, municipal pharmacy, or the local government unit. So the municipal fishers actually participate in this in the management of this community-based fish landing site center. Okay, and then for the resiliency, the Philippines actually have a Climate Change Act, which was formulated in 2009, and as a consequence, we developed the National Climate Change Action Plan. This is for 2011 to 2028, and we have priorities. Number one in the priority is the food security. And the outcome, okay, the objective is of the national strategic priority on food security to ensure availability, stability, accessibility, and affordability of safe and healthy food amidst climate change. So in this national plan, it has already been, food security has already been discussed alongside climate change. So integration is, I think, as mentioned by Key Sensei earlier, we are trying to integrate. But in the Philippines, we have already started actually integrating climate change in the food security discussions. So, for example, the immediate outcomes for the food security priority include enhanced climate change resilience of agriculture and fisheries production and distribution systems, and enhanced resilience of agriculture and fishery and fishing communities from climate change. So, as mentioned by Professor K, when she visited Iloilo, a fishing community in the Philippines, maybe she heard how the municipal fishers look at climate change. But in the Philippines, actually, we have already a framework. But maybe the implementation is a different matter, okay, in the discussion. The framework is clearly mentioned here, is already very complete. But how we implement this at the grassroots level is not yet very clear. Maybe not yet clear for the municipal fishers. So the details, for example, on food security priority included, okay, the different agencies involved in the implementation of the outcome or the objectives expected from the priority, and even the different durations. What are the activities that need to be done at that particular period is already listed here. Okay, if this is really followed. Okay, so some examples also. And then another initiative that the government did was to create the interagency task force on zero hunger management. Okay, so it also mentioned a key result area to ensure resiliency and food stability for emergencies. So emergencies would include, of course, disaster in those emergencies, and for example, even the COVID-19 response. So this included a list of different agencies and how they participate in the addressing food security. Okay, so I end my talk with a summary, and I consider this as the bigger issues and challenges that needs to be addressed in the Philippine fisheries context. So we have a bigger issue on conflict of use of our fishing grounds. So there's always the conflict between municipal fishers and commercial fishers. So it's a big discussion right now regarding the Supreme Court decision to allow commercial fishers to do fishing in municipal waters, where, of course, the municipal fishers are against doing that. So there's some conflicts right now, but that is still being discussed again in the Supreme Court of the Philippines. So, and then there's also the no fishing zones. So when I say no fishing zones, it's many of the municipalities have no proper fishing or uh, water use zonation, okay, ordinance. So people can fish anywhere, and so conflicts arise because of that. Another issue is in the lost fishing grounds. Many fishers are displaced due to protection. For example, when a an area is protected, or when a marine protected area is established, then fishers do not know where to go, and they don't know what to do. Okay, because they are fishers, and so where they need to move away, or they need to fish somewhere else. And then there are some developments, coastal developments like reclamation, which affect also municipal fishers. And there are damaged habitats, okay, that also affect municipal fishers. For example, coral reefs, damaged seagrass beds. Okay, so they can no longer continue fishing because there are no more fish. The fishes moved somewhere else. Then there's poaching in the high waters, and a source of conflict, the unsettled boundaries. Sometimes municipalities have conflicts about their boundaries, and even international context of fishing, or municipal fishers losing their fishing grounds, commercial fishers losing their fishing grounds because of international conflicts in boundaries, as you might have heard in the news. Okay, and then one of the biggest issues in the fisheries sector is the overfish or overfishing. Okay, so the illegal use, illegal and protect illegal IUUF fishing, okay, unregulated and unreported fishing is one of the biggest problems in the Philippines that we are trying to address. And then are some issues on pollution. For example, oil spills sometimes happen and affects our fishing grounds. One problem that is visiting our municipal fishers is the lack of livelihood options. Okay, when we close or we protect areas, we close the fishing grounds, where the municipal fishers go? Where will they get their livelihood income? So that's one of the issues that besets the municipal fishers. And of course, disasters. So especially the climate-induced disasters. So sometimes we have strong typhoons that finally affects all the resources, not only the fishing grounds, but also their houses. Okay, their fishing gears are damaged. Okay, so my recommendations to address those, for example, would be number one, to provide assistance to municipal fishers during closed fishing seasons and disasters. So normally for disasters, help comes in, but maybe not all fishers are actually municipal fishers are or receive help or assistance. And then protect the fishing grounds and the fishery resources. This is one of our main strategy, so that we allow our resources to be sustainable, so that they are able to reproduce and continue increasing biomass. So protection of the fishing grounds and the resources. And then we also hopefully maintain diversity of marine habitats and aquatic resources. So this is one of our some of our issues, because fishers use, for example, destructive fishing gears. They use chemicals or explosives that would damage marine habitats. Okay, so we try to as much as possible um, protect these habitats, so that we will have habitats for our fishery resources. And then also safer homes, especially for fishers living in small islands. Many fishers, municipal fishers, live in small islands, which is very vulnerable to climate-induced hazards. So for example, there is a storm surge. Many of the houses are damaged during typhoons. Okay, and then alternative or supplemental livelihoods, if they are given opportunities for other than fishing, maybe this is very helpful for our municipal fishers. And then empowerment and capability building for fishers cooperatives or associations. This is one of our really the government's really pushing for fishers to form cooperatives. But many fishers are not capable of how we say in the organizational skills. So sometimes cooperatives fail, associations fail, and so fishers become they go back to what they're doing previously. So and then lastly, more scholarship opportunities for fishers children. We always say if we can allow them to educate them, to give them higher education, then that would be the best way so that they can have high opportunities to move out of that fishing situation. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much. Domo arigato gozaimasu and maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Professor Agnieszko, for your powerful messages based on your rich experiences in the Philippines and connect them with the dimensions of our discussion paper. So now we reached the end of our session, and we sincerely apologize for running over time and not being able to hold a Q&A session due to time constraints. If you have any questions or comments, please write them in the comment section on the survey that will appear after this Zoom session. We will answer your questions on the IGES website. So we will announce the release of the discussion paper that was introduced by Dr. Kurushima at the beginning of the session on IGES social media. So please continue to follow our Asia Pacific Climate Security project. Thank you very much for your participation today once again, and I would like to conclude today's webinar. So thank you very much for all the speakers, and have a great evening. Thank you very much.